Hello, Amoniche, can you present the banner?
Okay. Just a few seconds here. Patrick, is it visible on your side?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Right.
I've shared with you the EAC presentation in WhatsApp. Amo?
Yes, he has received it. Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe Geoffrey, because people have already gone in, yeah? I've already joined in. So probably Amoniche, maybe you can confirm first with the panelists if they're around, so that we may put them as presenters so that they may be able to speak. Geoffrey?
Yeah, I just want to see who is already on the...
Jeff?
Yes, sir.
Have you contacted Nanli, Frank?
Yeah, I spoke to him. Let me confirm with him now. Mediatrice, I can see you on the call. Kindly confirm with panelists from Burundi.
And ida confirm na Charity.
Morning, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining. I appreciate your time. We're checking with the panelists that will be speaking shortly. And we should be beginning the next 5 minutes. We're checking with the panelists so that they're available, then we can kick off. So if you kindly give us another 5 minutes, we'll be beginning. Thank you. I continue to thank everyone that is joining. I recognize the presence of our board members. Mr. Emmanuel, thank you for joining. I also recognize the presence of our stakeholders from GIZ. Thank you, Dorica, for joining. Also, thank you for joining Waturi. Ms. Waturi, thank you so much. Good to see you here. I know how passionate you are on tourism things. So thank you so much for joining. I'll be starting shortly, as I said. We're still checking with our panelists or speakers of the day. Just bear with us a few minutes. Thank you. Good morning once again, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Geoffrey Kamanzi. I'm the Policy Manager in charge of Training Services at the EABC, and I will warmly welcome you all to this very good webinar. And thank you really for sparing time to make it to this webinar. We really don't take your time for granted, and we appreciate really for making up to here. We have deliberately chosen to host this webinar, this moment when tourism is at the peak of its time. We recognize the challenges that are therein, and we hope that the discussion that we'll be having today will form policy recommendations that we can submit to the EAC for advocacy, but also the opportunities that are existing within our respective partner states, and how the benefits are getting from there. So allow me to invite our ED, Mr. Ahmed Farah, to give our official opening remark as we set tone for this webinar. Karibu sana, ED.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Distinguished representatives from East African Community Secretariat, the esteemed representatives from national tourism boards and regional tourism platforms, leaders of tourism associations present and private sector institutions represented here today, development partners with us, our panelists, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. On behalf of the East African Business Council, it is my great pleasure to welcome you all to this important regional webinar on the state of play of the tourism sector in East African community, with the theme opportunities, challenges, and recommendations for enhanced investment. Allow me at the outset to express our sincere appreciation to all our partners and stakeholders who continue to support the advancement of the tourism sector across the East Africa region. In particular, I wish to recognize the valuable collaboration of the East African Community Secretariat, national tourism boards, tourism federations and associations, the hospitality industry players, tour operators, investors, development partners, and regional tourism platform whose commitment continues to position East Africa as one of the world's most attractive tourist destinations. The tourism sector remains one of the most strategic pillars of the East African economy. Across the EAC partner states, tourism contributes anywhere between 8% and 17% of our GDP, depending on the country, and supports millions of jobs directly and indirectly, particularly among women and youth. And beyond foreign exchange earnings, tourism stimulates investments in transport, hospitality, agriculture, ICT, financial services, culture, and creative economy, making it a powerful driver of inclusive growth and regional integration. East Africa possesses exceptional comparative advantages that few regions in the world can rival. From the Serengeti ecosystem in Tanzania and the Masai Mara in Kenya, to the mountain gorillas in Rwanda and Uganda, the beaches of the Indian Ocean coastline, the cultural heritage of our communities, and the growing meetings, incentives, conferences, and exhibitions industry, the MICE industry. Our region remains uniquely positioned to become a globally competitive multi-destination tourism hub. We are encouraged that following the devastating effects of the COVID-19 pandemic 5 years ago, the sector has demonstrated resilience and gradual recovery. Several partner states have registered significant rebounds in tourist arrivals and tourism revenues driven by strategic marketing campaigns, investments in ecotourism and MICE tourism, improved infrastructure, and growing investor confidence. However, despite this progress, important challenges continue to undermine the sector's full potential. The East Africa community tourism industry still faces fragmented regional branding and marketing efforts, policy and regulatory inconsistencies across partner states, inadequate air connectivity and transport infrastructure, limited digital transformation among tourism enterprises, skills gap, high cost of travel within the region, and increasing climate and environmental sustainability pressures. In some markets, limited access to affordable financing and investment incentives also continues to constrain expansion and innovation. As the voice of the private sector in East Africa community, the East Africa Business Council remains committed to advocating for a more enabling business environment that supports tourism growth, competitiveness, and investment. We continue to engage East Africa institutions and partner states on key policy reforms aimed at facilitating trade and services, improving regional connectivity, enhancing movement of tourists and service providers, and also promoting harmonized tourism standards and regulations. We at EABC strongly believe that the future of tourism in East Africa lies in deeper regional integration, stronger public-private partnerships, and a deliberate shift towards sustainable and innovation-driven tourism models. In this regard, allow me to highlight several key recommendations that we believe are critical for accelerating sector performance and increasing tourism contribution to regional revenues and employment. First, there is need to strengthen implementation of the coordinated regional tourism branding and marketing strategy under the Visit East Africa initiative in order to position the EAC as a single and competitive tourism destination. Secondly, partner states should prioritize investments in transport and digital infrastructure, particularly air connectivity, roads, border efficiency, and digital tourism platforms to improve accessibility and visitor experience. Thirdly, there's need to enhance policy harmonization and ease regulatory barriers affecting tourism operators and investors across the region. Fourth, we must invest more in skills development, innovation, digital transformation to improve service quality and competitiveness of our tourism enterprises, especially for our SMEs and youth-led businesses. Fifth, sustainability must remain central to tourism development through stronger environmental conservation, climate resilience, measures, and inclusive community participation. Finally, there's a need to strengthen access to finance and investment incentives to unlock private sector participation across tourism value chain, including ecotourism, hospitality, cultural tourism, and MICE tourism. Our distinguished participants, today's webinar provides an important platform for reflection, dialogue, and action. I encourage all participants to engage openly, share experiences and best practices, and contribute to practical recommendations that can shape a stronger, more resilient, and investment-ready tourism sector for our region. The success of East Africa tourism industry will depend on our collective ability to work together across borders, institutions, and sectors. With these many remarks, I once again thank you for joining us today and wish you fruitful deliberations. I thank you for your kind attention. Over to you, Jeff.
Thank you so much, dear ED, for those very, very strong remarks. I appreciate the emphasis that you've made on the contribution of tourism on our partner states' GDP, employment creation, and also it being a driver and enabler of other sectors such as transport. I highlighted a few things that you mentioned, especially on the issues that we're having regarding the fragmented policies, quality of infrastructure, the digital gaps, as well as the cost of travel that we're facing, but also your recommendations on unlocking this, specifically calling for a single tourism EAC as a single tourist destination, improving the skills to ensure that service delivery is well delivered, but also modalities towards ease of access to finance. So thank you very much, ED, for those remarks, and I hope you have set the tone for the discussion that we're going to have in the next 2 hours. In the interest of time, allow me to welcome the representative of the East African Community Secretariat, Mr. Simon Kiare, who will also speak a few words on behalf of the Secretariat, but also will go ahead to give us a presentation on the state of play of the tourism sector in our region. Over to you, Mr. Simon. Mr. Simon.
Thank you, moderator. I'll start by giving few remarks on behalf of our Deputy Secretary General, Honorable Eric Malueth, who is not able to join us, and then I'll continue with a presentation on the state of play. EABC Vice Chairperson, Mr. Dennis Carrera, EABC Board of Directors, EABC Executive Director, Mr. Ahmed Farah, tourism and business leaders present, distinguished panelists and participants, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed, good morning. On behalf of the East African community, and in particular our Honorable DSG, I wish to sincerely appreciate the invitation extended to the EAC Secretariat to participate in this very important and timely webinar on the state of play of the tourism sector in our region. I also take this opportunity to commend the EABC for organizing this dialogue, which comes at a critical moment as the tourism sector continues its recovery and positioning following recent global disruptions. This platform is both relevant and strategic in advancing a shared understanding of opportunities, challenges, and investment priorities in the sector. The EAC Secretariat remains fully committed to working closely with all stakeholders, including partner states, private sector actors, development partners, and regional institutions to coordinate efforts aimed at developing and promoting tourism across the region. Tourism is a key driver of economic growth, contributing significantly to GDP, employment, foreign exchange earnings, and investments across our partner states, and as such requires a collaborative and integrated approach as provided for under the EAC Treaty. We'll continue to strengthen public-private dialogue, enhance policy harmonization, and support initiatives that improve competitiveness and sustainability of tourism in our region. Ladies and gentlemen, over the years, the EAC has registered notable achievements in advancing regional tourism, including the development and the improvement of key transport corridors to enhance connectivity across partner states, the establishment of a harmonized classification system for tourism accommodation establishments, and efforts to brand EAC as a single tourism destination under the Visit East Africa Feel the Vibe tourism brand. This milestone demonstrates our collective commitment to regional integration and position the EAC as a globally competitive tourism destination. We need to work together to address the bottlenecks that exist and stand between us and full realization of our dream of a single tourism market under the common market pillar of EAC integration. Ladies and gentlemen, going forward, we remain focused on deepening the gains made to unlock the full potential of the sector. In conclusion, allow me to wish all of us fruitful deliberations, and as Secretary, we look forward to actionable recommendations to help us move forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Simon. A round of applause for those that can be able to clap. And really thank you for your commitment towards ensuring that we have a single tourist destination and eventually a single tourist market. And also emphasis on the need for PPDs, public-private dialogue, for policy harmonization. This is critical, and I hope this will come out strongly during our discussion. So thank you very much. You may go ahead with the presentation. I see a hand from Benson Olanya. Do you mind keeping your hand for now? And then you can add anything after the presentation. Thank you, Benson.
Okay, you're going to support me in moving the slides?
Yes. Mr. Amonish on our team will do that.
Okay, thank you. That's the title of our presentation based on the concept note that was shared. We are looking at the state of play of the tourism sector in the region, opportunity, challenges, and recommendations for enhanced investment. But for EAC, we propose we highlight what has been done, and also we come up with recommendations or proposed recommendations at the end. Participants, as you are aware, East African community now comprises 8 partner states. And we are very specific when we talk about partnership because that reflects equality of the members at the EAC. we really appreciate the recent expansion to DRC and also Somalia. In brief, those are the members, and also the vision for EAC is a prosperous, competitive, secure, and stable and politically united East Africa. That's our vision. And our mission is to widen and deepen economic, political, social, and cultural integration in order to improve the quality of life of the people of East Africa through increased competitiveness, value-added production, and investment, whereby tourism sector is going to play a major part or plays a major part. In quick figures, size is key for tourism sector. We are now 5.1 million square kilometers, stretching from the Indian Ocean to Atlantic. The population size is also huge. It's also significant for tourism in terms of regional market. We have close to 330 billion people, and GDP also it's key. We have US dollars 352.1 billion. So those are the figures that show us where we are. EAC integration is guided by 4 pillars, which are implemented progressively. We started with Customs Union, and the protocol came into force in 2005. And the idea is to enable the partners to enjoy economies of scale with a view of supporting the process of economic development through establishment of a single custom territory. A lot of advancement has been made under that pillar. The second one is common market. The protocol came into force in 2010, and the idea is accelerate economic growth and development while maintaining a rebellious stance towards the 5 freedoms of movement for all factors of production. This includes services in tourism sector. Monetary union, aimed at promoting monetary and financial stability, aimed at facilitating economic integration to attain sustainable growth and development of the community, and also political federation. A lot of efforts are being made under that pillar now. Continue. When it comes to tourism, the EAC Treaty gives a special mention to the sector, and it has a chapter on tourism wildlife, that's chapter 20, and when it comes to tourism is Article 115, where partners states that to develop a collective and coordinated approach to the promotion and marketing of quality tourism into and within the community. In particular, they undertake to coordinate policies in the industry and establish a framework of cooperation in the sector that will ensure equitable distribution of benefits. Also establish a common of conduct for private and public tour and travel operators, standardized hotel classification, and harmonized professional standard of agents. And finally, develop a regional strategy for tourism promotion, whereby individual efforts are enforced by regional action. Continue. In terms of contribution, this data was generated in some time back. We are yet to update between 2023 or 2024 and now. But in terms of GDP, we find like Tanzania, that they really dependent on tourism when it comes to contribution to GDP with 17.2%. That is followed by Rwanda and Kenya in terms of contribution to GDP, but generally on average we start at 9.5% contribution to our GDP, the regional GDP. Then contribution to export, also Tanzania ranks very high with 25%. We all understand that because of places like Zanzibar, which is highly dependent on tourism. Kenya is about 18.1%. Then Uganda 16.6%, but on average it's about 70%, which is quite significant for the region. In terms of employment, on average it's about 7.1%, but we find countries like Kenya, it's like employment contribution to employment, it's quite high, as well as Tanzania. So that's how important tourism is to our region. Next, in terms of arrivals, we actually track, the performance in terms of arrivals. You can see where we started in 2006 when we started tracking up to now where we are. 2024, you'll forgive us, we are yet to update for 2025 because I received data from a few partner states, but we're updating this. But there is an indication of recovery. If you look at where we were in 2022 when COVID hit, the growth has been quite phenomenal. And by last year, 2024, end of 2024, we registered 110% recovery. Kenya has really improved, Tanzania has improved. So we expect a much bigger figure than what we had in 2024. Next. When we look at variations across partner states, the figure shows arrivals trend over the years. And we find, for instance, the yellow line, we have the Republic of Kenya. We see a lot of ups and downs, and which are well explained. But all the partner states were affected by COVID in 2020. And we see the recovery that has taken place. Partner states, Kenya still leading, Tanzania and the others. Also, we see some trends that are, not full. That's because of data gaps. We are yet to get historical data from, for instance, South Sudan as well as DRC, but we are working on that. We have a team that is working on data, but that reflects how we are performing in terms of, partner state by partner state. The next one is on the data we got. We have a team that works on data when it comes to tourism receipts or earnings, international tourism receipts and earnings. That's the figure. Also a growth since 2020. There was a dip, but a recovery in terms of earnings. In 2023, we were about 7.7 billion. Of course, there's growth in 2024, 2025. We are updating that, but it's quite encouraging because going by what we have received from partner states, there is a significant growth in Kenya, in Tanzania. We are going to update the data on that, but that's where you are by 2023 generally. And here we are capturing 5 partner states who are able to provide data. Continue. Which are our key source markets? Of course, Africa is leading with close to 54%. And then we have Europe, 29% to 30%. And then Americas have been growing with close to 9%. Asia and Pacific close to 8%. Those are the key sources for our tourism, and indicated by those figures, Africa and Europe mainly. Continue. Looking at selected partner states on how they attract tourism, we find Africa is a key source market for DRC, Uganda, as well as Kenya, Tanzania. And for DRC, Uganda, that can be explained very well with by cross-border kind of travel. For DRC, is quite high. In terms of Europe, we find Tanzania, their tourists mainly come from Europe as the second, that is 39%, followed by Uganda, that is 7%, Kenya close to 30%. Then in terms of Americas, Kenya, they are performing quite high with close to 20%. The others about 6%. Asian Pacific, we find Kenya also has ventured into that, over 10%, as well as DRC. Continue. This figure is just to show the linkages with the actions or strategic actions that we are taking with the policy framework, the main one being the EAC Treaty, which is underpinned by 4 pillars: Customs Union, Common Market, Monetary Union, Political Federation. And also EAC has Vision 2050, whereby tourism sector features significantly. And that Vision 2050 is implemented based on 5-year EAC development strategy. We are currently implementing the 6th. It's coming to an end in next month, that is June. And then we start with 7 EAC development strategy. And all of them actually feature tourism as a key contributor to Vision 2050. And then we are making a lot of efforts in terms of harmonizing tourism and other policies. We have a wildlife policy in place. We have also a wildlife strategy in place. But for tourism, the guidance that we got from the legal experts is that there's no provision for us to come up with a single tourism policy or a common tourism policy, but the idea is to harmonize the policies across the partner states, and we are making efforts towards that. There is a gap, but we're working towards that. In terms of strategies, we have an EAC tourism market strategy which lapsed in December, and we are quite advanced in coming up with a successor, actually organizing a regional validation next month. We also have done branding of EAC as a single tourism destination. We have been participating together at expos, including the EAC Tourism Expo, tourism campaigns. We did Tembea Nyumbani, those who can remember, in 2021, 2022. Also, we did a social digital media campaign recently on Visit East Africa, Feel the Vibe. We have a catalog which brings together the key attractions across the region, apart from Federal Republic of Somalia. So we are going to update so that we ensure all the partners are covered. Also, the private sector are working in terms of developing cross-border packages, but mainly through partnerships. In terms of standardization, those I think that we have done, including guidelines for classification at national level. Statistics, we are working towards coming up with credible statistics. Also, we are challenged by the Minister for Tourism that we need a program for youth involvement in the tourism and life sector. Capacity building, there is an online capacity building taking place that has been there for some time now. I talked about lifestyle strategy. Also, we have been working with SADC in terms of transfrontier conservation areas, and we are making progress towards establishing the same in our region. And all these contribute to widening and deepening economic, political, social, cultural integration towards improving the quality of life of our people. Proceed. Next. Just to highlight, I'll not dwell on this because these are lapsed strategy that we are almost concluding the review, but this reflects what we are focusing on. EAC to be the leading sustainable regional tourism destination in Africa. That's not going to change much, but also the mission to develop and promote inclusive and sustainable intra-regional and international tourism across the region. The strategic objectives were there: develop regional, internationally competitive multi-destination tourism products, offering high-quality travel experience, position EAC as a leading regional tourism destination, branding, and building institutional capacity, enhancing financing. Of course, we have gaps in a number of these, but a bit of progress has been made, as I'll highlight when we come to the next slide. Proceed. I'll not go into details, but this mapping was done when we were developing that strategy. But what we are trying to look at, like, what are the strengths per partner state, like where you find the deep blue colors, those are the areas of strength. For instance, just for example, if it's Kenya, we find wildlife safari is quite strong. Also, for Rwanda, they're also strong when it comes to primates. Tanzania and Uganda as well. Adventure, we find we are not very strong in adventure, but we see destinations like Kenya, Uganda coming up. Water-based tourism, we find Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda. Cultural tourism, it means we are strong in cultural tourism. Urban tourism is picking up. Maize, for instance, Rwanda and Kenya, they're strong in maize. Medical tourism, that's an area that we need to look at in terms of investment, in terms of product development. Sport tourism, including the upcoming AFCON, those are the things that we need to leverage. Also education tourism. So I think we're going to share this so that we can see the areas we need to leverage and take advantage of. Continue. Of course, I have talked about a lot of these, but just to discuss some, like joint participation at regional tourism expos. We have been participating in ITB. We used to participate at WTM. Of because with challenges when it comes to finances. Karibu Fair, because of cost effectiveness, based in Arusha, we invite Panda State to participate with us, including their upcoming one that is going to take place next month, whereby we have an EAC pavilion that brings in together the EAC Panda State. Also, we are invited by the Pandas to participate in their national expos, and we participate. The other thing that I need to highlight is we have our EAC Tourism Expo. We have had 3, a bit of challenge, but that's going to come back probably end of this year. Then preferential rates for EAC citizens. These aimed at promoting regional tourism, where any East African is treated the same across the region. A single tourist visa and use of IDs. This has been adopted by the 3 Panda states, Kenya, Rwanda, and Uganda. And we were tasked by the ministers to update the study that was done some time back in 2013, over 10 years ago, so that we explore the possibility of other Panda states joining. Also, development of Visit East Africa, Feel the Vibe. We have a video that is running that we used to promote East Africa. That is our Brad Face East Africa, Feel the Vibe. Milestone, this is about classification. It's a flagship for us. We see Panda State now, they are rolling out the second phase of classification following the approval of the same by the Council of Ministers. Training is ongoing. Also, we are taking regional capacity building, mainly virtually. Continue. When you talk about multi-destination tourism initiatives, I talked about benchmarking with SADC, and through support of USAID in 2021-2022, we mapped 4 major landscapes. For instance, Great East African Plains between Kenya and Tanzania, whereby we need to collaborate in terms of conserving the wildlife resources. We have northern savannas touching 3 countries, Uganda, Kenya, and South Sudan. Rueru, Mugesera, Kagera, those are wetlands that can contribute to tourism. Also, Albertine Rift Forest in terms of gorilla trekking. And we are establishing a network where we bring the stakeholders together. We also need to brand these as unique destinations. Also, we are working with the Sectoral Council, which has directed us to develop guidelines for cross-border tourism. We have an assignment that's going to start very soon because we started with the kind of competition that is there. We need to address this and see how better we can cooperate. Also, bilateral arrangements, they are encouraged. For instance, we have an MOU when it comes to Mara Serengeti conservation between Kenya and Tanzania. We have Mount Elgon ecosystem. There is a bilateral between Uganda and Kenya. Those are encouraged so that it will fast track or expedite promotion of the transborder ecosystems as tourism destinations. Also, Uganda-Kenya Coast Partnership, we really appreciate this, whereby Kenya and Uganda are able to work collaboratively. Those are key priorities for this year, this year. I think I talked a lot about this. I don't need to really belabor this. Continue. The challenges, of course, the one that we have been dealing with for a long time is unhealthy competition, and this emanates from a similarity of tourism products. For instance, we have countries that have beach. Their wildlife is a shared sort of attractions. So you find countries competing. But how can we leverage the comparative advantages? So that's a question that we are dealing with. Then varying management approaches for cross-border resources. We find, for instance, one side we have a park, the other side we have a reserve or a community kind of entity. So we have those challenges. High cost of travel. We find, unlike places like Europe, the travel within the region is quite high, and this impedes intra-regional tourism. Inadequate inclusivity. There is need to include women, youth, local communities, especially in conservation of wildlife, where they feel as the real owners of the sector. Inadequate funding. This actually constrains our marketing efforts. Also, inadequate human resource. At the Secretariat, mainly, we are very few. We continue. Next. Based on our experience, we were coming up with a recommendation in line with the theme of this webinar, and we feel we need to really work on joint EAC tourism marketing partnerships, whereby private and public stakeholders come together to finance tourism promotion, and we call upon like EABC, East African Tourism Platform, to work with us, because at the Secretariat, the funding is really inadequate. So we find we come up with good marketing strategies, brand, but we are not able to really roll out this. The other one is a multi-destination tourism circuit. We need to develop themed cross-border itineraries when it comes to wildlife, culture, sports, and so that we can grow multi-destination travel and increase visitor length of stay within the region. Also, transport, connectivity, and affordability. We need to invest in regional air routes, rail, roads, and ferries. For instance, Lake Victoria, it's an entity that we can work with in promoting tourism across the 3 countries. And transborder conservation investment, we need to really mobilize funds to support transborder wildlife conservation areas. Next. Product diversification, sports tourism. We see a lot of initiatives taking place. For instance, World Rally Classic that takes place in Naivasha that attracts a lot of tourists. If this can be made regional, that can really help us. AFCON, that's something that we're really appreciating, but as a sector, we need to work with the 3 partner states so that we leverage that. MICE, I know the ED talked about MICE, cultural heritage, lake community-based tourism, so that we reduce product duplication. Then harmonized tourism standard, we find a bit of slow uptake. It's only a few partners that are able to work on this, but we need to support the entire region to really harmonize the standards. Inclusive youth, women and community participation. And the other one is regional tourism investment facilitation. This is key for us. We need to really map the investment opportunities, including incentives, and also we promote these, especially during the expos that take place and continually. With that, I would like to say thank you. Back to the moderator, please.
Jeff, are you with us? Thank you, Simon. Amuniche, kindly try and see if you can get hold of Jeff, our moderator.
Thank you, Simon. Sorry, I think I had disabled my mic. Apologies as the presentation was going on. Thank you so much, Simon, for a very good elaborate presentation and good work the EAC Secretariat is doing in promoting our region as a single tourist destination. I was intrigued by the fact that Africa is our market, one of the biggest market, 29%. That is a good statistic that we should really celebrate. And some efforts around the branding, the joint branding that you're doing, the policies, the tourism and wildlife policies that are in place, but also looking at the challenges that are in, especially the unhealthy competition, which touched my, which is one of the issues that we are facing. I think maybe you agree with me that even the private sector has a role in this. So I think we, as you said towards the end of your presentation, we need to work together, and the discussion today will really be framing around that. Thank you so much. I would like to request that if you have a question, kindly drop it on the chat. And also, for purpose of sharing these slides, kindly drop your email addresses and your names on the chat so that we will be able to collect them and share with you, because these are good statistics, presentation information that you may need to use in your daily work. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. In case of, because I've been told by Simon that he is also coordinating another meeting in Nairobi, if I can take, like, if anyone has a question or a comment on the presentation, we can allow 2-3 questions or comments before we go to the panel discussion. Yes, Fred. I see a hand from Fred Zake. I also see from Tim. Tim, you have a question? Monish may have to unmute the panel.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, you can hear you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for Fred Zake from ITC. Thank you so much for the excellent presentation. Everything is important, but I just wanted us to point out one area and see what policy, legal, regulatory reforms we need to do. You mentioned that travel within Europe is reasonably priced. In East Africa, it's very, very expensive. Sometimes to fly from Uganda to Nairobi is more expensive than flying to Mumbai. So how do we address this elephant in the room? Thank you so much.
Tim, so that Simon can answer these questions before he leaves. Tim, you had a question, you had a hand as well. Amo, you may have to unmute the participants so they're able to ask their questions. So, Helen Wesi.
Yes, good morning, everybody. I'm Helen Wesi, background in hospitality and currently in the manufacturing sector. My question is, and I've posted it somewhere, this idea about multi-destination, and I think it's connecting to what was asked before, multi-destination tourism. Is this an idea that we have developed internally, or have we checked with tourists whether they are interested in that? Because I have really my doubts about it. And don't we want the tourists to be coming back multiple times to our region? Would that then require us branding the EAC as one region, or rather strong individual countries with different products to offer? Thank you.
Thank you. Tim, if your hand is still up or you decided to put it down, then we allow Simon to respond to those two then. Yes, Valentin Namakula, please go ahead with your question. Simon, you might be muted.
Oh, I thought there was a question from Valentin.
Yes, I'm actually.
Hello?
In the meantime, you can respond to those. Then Valentino will come in with a question as well. Yeah.
Okay. I'll try to respond as much as possible, but also I would request some of the participants that I see to assist where I may have a gap. I see Frank Gisha, I see Charity, who has done a lot of work with us. I see also Siriri. On affordability, this has been a really critical question for EAC over the years, because we find, especially air travel, it's really expensive. Someone said it's like crossing from one panda state to the other. You spend over $300, $500, but if it's Europe from one country to the other, $100 will do. And this is mainly based on two factors. One, the structure of our air travel industry, and there has been a push to liberalize that. And this also applies to the entire African continent, whereby the single air travel market system, it's being sort of advocated. And we find very few countries actually have really supported that or ratified that. And there is a competition between our airlines. And to us, we have not been able to do much because that's also a sovereignty issue. I was engaging the sector in charge of aviation at EAC. Also, they were talking about, the market, because we find in Africa the market is still weak. Very few people have adopted that, or they have the capability to travel using air, so that the demand is still low to push down the prices. So there are two factors: the existing regulatory frameworks and also the demand factor. So whereas we can't address the demand factor within the mid-term, short-term, I believe we can lobby for the leaders, political leaders, so that they can do something about harmonization in terms of the regulatory frameworks. So for us, what we can see is the private sector playing a part a lot in terms of advocacy and lobbying. We need to talk to our heads of, say, the summit. We need to talk to the Council of Ministers so that they can try to push for liberalization of the air travel within the region. For that, I can also request Frank Gisha to weigh in as EATP. The other one is, if I go this one, whether the multi-destination packaging, is it supply driven or market driven? Does the market require that? We also look at other destinations, how it works. For instance, we have benchmarked with CASA, that is Kavango Zambezi, the ecosystem shared by 5 countries in SADC. And we ask questions. Why is it not possible within our region? For instance, there was a bilateral that took place some time back and is continuing between Kenya and Tanzania. How can we market the transboundary? Because we find a person comes to one destination but has to maybe fly or take a long route to fly to another. Can we come up with, for instance, connectivity between the destinations? Can I give an example of Mara Serengeti? A person goes to Mara, but has to come back to Nairobi so that he can go to Serengeti if he wants to do that. But you have seen like trades of visitors traveling, crossing from one country to the other. If you go to the border, you find tourists coming from Kenya, going to Tanzania, and vice versa. But how do we facilitate that? So that's a whole question that's informing us in terms of development or pushing for development of destination tours, because we believe it's going to be cheaper for a tourist coming from probably America or Europe and do a tour of one country and then go to another within the region and then go back, rather than it's like going back to Europe and coming back. And I was giving an example of Uganda-Kenya cooperation or collaboration, whereby we find that Uganda, they say they don't have a lot of beach tourism, but Kenya they have. They have a lot of adventure, gorilla trekking and all that. And what has been demonstrated that is working between the two countries. I think there is a remarkable improvement in terms of arrivals between the two based on that. With that, Chair, moderator, if you can allow, I see Tim Bidika, I believe, is coming to support me. I believe Frank is coming to support me, given that we have worked together in terms of development of the tourism marketing strategy, including the strategic actions. Moderator, back to you.
Thank you, Simon. Thanks for the good responses. As Frank, I think you have more as well as Tim. Frank, please go ahead. Then Tim, in that order.
Yes, good morning, colleagues. Good morning, Mr. Simon, for the presentation, the great presentation, but also the explanations you've shared regarding liberalizing our airspace, which is still a challenge. And this, you said it all. I don't want to repeat what you said. It's all about policy. It's really sad when you find that over 50% on what we pay on our air tickets from within the region, over 50% is taxes and landing fees. So policy is the only key and solution to this. Good, we have representatives from policymakers. And regarding multi-destination packaging, I think that was really a great question. And maybe to share some brief insights. Only 30 to 40% of international tourists, according to the UN Tourism and the OECD, only 30 to 40% are likely to return to the same destination. And for long-haul destinations, Simon mentioned it, where the trip takes you like longer hours of flights. For long-haul destinations, repeat visitation is often below 30%, according to the UN Tourism. So the idea what we should wait for tourism to come back to the same place is not supported by global data. And by the way, when you look at destination travelers, according to the World Tourism and Travel Council, between 40 to 50% will be spent higher by multi-destination travelers on a single trip. So this means the diversity that we have for East Africa, from the flora and fauna, and also beach to sand. We want these guests or tourists to stay longer. So staying longer, the multi-destination packaging and removing these border barriers would be the key to make them stay longer and stay and spend more. And he has given a very good example of the Zombies. But also, if I can give an example, when I was into the business development of Rwanda's my sector, as you would for over a year, you bid for an international conference to come to Rwanda. And, you get used to the conference owners, and they know their conference organizers, and they know their audience. So as you market like the pre and post, conference tours, so they will like, no, guess what, Frank, my travelers, since they are in the same region, they would want to check a longer list of countries visited since they are in East Africa. So if they will be spending, 3-4 days on average in a conference in Rwanda or in Kenya, they would want to go to another country and do leisure. So that's the rationale, if I can, with those few numbers shared. And multi-destination, according to WTTC, multi-destination packaging and single tourism destination positioning, we will make your guests stay longer, often adding 3 to 6 extra nights, according to WTTC. Thank you. Over to you, moderator.
Thanks, Frank. Tim?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Simon, thank you so much also for the very, very, very good presentation. I have two comments on your presentation. One, I have not seen one of the iconic and very coming up tourism products, the geotourism. And I think this is one of the key product that can really come up with so many solutions to different tourism products, especially wildlife tourism. And I think we need to look at it in a 3 dimensions and come up with a strategy to see how can we promote it within East Africa. I know I don't have much time to talk about it, but I think we should pick that and maybe later on we can discuss about it. The other one is if you can emphasize on sports tourism, especially e-sporting tourism, this will really complement even our wildlife product tourism, as it has been really dominating kind of the whole tourism industry in East Africa. And I know we've been really promoting it, and the world now is really looking forward to travel to come and see our wildlife and all this kind of conservation. We are kind of getting somewhere where we almost get to the top. And I'm looking forward like 10 years to come from now. I don't see much of strategies and that aligns with the growth and the promotion and development of this wildlife tourism. So I think we should kind of think of new products. Probably some countries, they've been doing better when introducing new products of tourism, and try to not stop, but reduce kind of using these protected areas and sustainable conservation. I think is very important. The other thing that I wanted to share, and which will also help on developing our products, is to kind of classify new areas that either we see them in a very grayish way or not highlighted as a very important segment in the tourism value chain or maybe tourism operation. There is this segment of these people and the staff who are really working to design itineraries, maybe design programs, maybe design products. And these are really sitting behind the scene. We normally see the tour guide, we see the tour operator, we see the hotel owners, but there is this segment of these guys who really design itineraries and program and product that they sell to tourists. I think we can really highlight them and bring them to the reality. We can really come up with a strategy that will really train them, and maybe they can look at a bigger picture of what are the product of tourism in East Africa. And maybe we can now concentrate on other products and really kind of help wildlife tourism to get a little bit of stress and pressure, especially when it comes to these special areas that have been protected and are very unique in East Africa. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tim Kindi. Charity.
Good morning, everybody. I just want to concur with what Tim has said. One of the major hurdles that we have faced whilst doing even the marketing strategy for East Africa, I think we did a session with UNECA, and East Africa currently getting, from the figures Simon has shared, we have the potential of getting about 49 million people visiting East Africa on an annual basis. That is huge if we're able to market together. But one of the challenges that we have is that we do not know what we have. When you sit with the people that Dinka is referring to, the ones who do the itineraries, they have great products. But how do we then work on a product that cuts across the board in East Africa and is marketed and as East African product? How do we get the people who do the itineraries be able to visit each other and learn about what, say, Somalia has, learn what unique products Kenya has? Is there a way we can be able to get funding for capacity building for these people, for intra-country products knowledge? Those are some of the things that we need to think about so we can be able to maximize on the numbers that can be available. 58% of the source market for us is from Africa. This has been a long journey. I think, Simon, you will remember when we started talking about intra-Africa tourism. So what more can we be able to do to increase these numbers? Because those are the low-hanging fruits. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon. I think let's pick Moses, then maybe Simon can respond to this before he leaves. He has a tight schedule. Moses Mlondo.
Thank you very much. My name is Moses Mlondo. I'm from Uganda. Specifically, actually, as a senior business editor for New Vision, which is the leading daily in Uganda. My question is about the joint project, that the new project for marketing East Africa as a single tourism destination. I would like to know, because I know this project was it's a new project that was unveiled last year. I would like to know. I had anticipated that in this discourse, the Secretariat would give us details of how this project is going to be implemented. What are the planned activities? How are we going to have a unit created at the Secretariat to implement the project? Are we going to have regular discourses and maybe trainings done and activities done to implement the project? And now that we have a golden opportunity of jointly hosting the next AFCON, it's a golden opportunity for us actually to ensure that through this project we can massively, aggressively persuade the citizens of different African countries to come and tour East Africa. So I would like to get an update from colleagues here who are from the Secretariat on the progress of that project and what are the planned activities and how can the rest of us come in and help to push it, and because it's a good initiative. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Moses. Question heard clearly. Simon? And anyone that would really want to compliment Simon as soon as it's done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Number one, I appreciate Frank for complimenting my response with figures in terms of the issues related to regional travel, air connectivity, as well as multi-destination tours. I really appreciate that. And also responding to the person who asked the question about the multi-destination. Personally, I have received a number of inquiries, for instance, from tour operators from one country asking us to link them with counterparts in other countries so that they can work together. And one interesting case is I had it recently, is an operator who focuses on wildlife photography, and it's high-end. So he was looking for a link, and actually they were entered into a partnership in terms of doing that. We have done that in the past. So we find, although the uptake is low, I think that's an area that we need to really focus on or work on together with the private sector. Also, I appreciate the contribution by team in terms of looking at other segments or other innovative products that we need to have so that we can complement our strength, which is wildlife. Sports tourism. You also talked about building the capacity of the people who design itineraries. That's critical. And also what came to my mind is urban tourism, because I remember when you were designing the marketing strategy or the brand, the tourism brand, the expert thought about the Gen Z. You know, these are people who want vibrancy. They want to visit each other. You know, they want to do road trips. They want to visit Arusha. They want to do Naivasha. You know, so that's a key market for us, the young people, and it can create vibrancy. Also, I like that point by Charity about the population in EAC, for instance. We are about 330 million. What if you could promote the region to just 5% or 10% so that they can travel cross borders? And that is going to create, you know, development of the sector in terms of consumption of tourism services. And that also going to mean it's like we're going also to promote internationally. We're going to be seen as a vibrant destination. It's a discussion that we need to have as we finalize the new marketing strategy. Talking about funding, that has been a challenge for us, for EAC especially, because we find funding goes to key sectors like health. Also development partners, they are not very keen in terms of funding tourism. But what we really need is to work with the private sector. I believe it's like if we come up with a framework where we collaborate in terms of funding some of these initiatives or mobilizing innovative finances together with the private sector, that can work. Of course, there are gaps, and what I'm requesting before we validate the EAC, the new EAC tourism marketing strategy, we participate. I'll connect the consultants who's working with us with the EABC and the participants so that we can look at that document and try to fine tune it. Moses asked about what we are doing about Visit East Africa, Feel the Vibe. It's true. It was unveiled during ITB to the international market, that is last year, ITB 2025. And what we have done so far, we were finalizing a video which showcases the entire region. And we have developed a lot of promotional items based on that, which we can share with the private sector so that we can do co-branding, because co-branding is one of the activities that we need to work on. When a tour operator is promoting like 2 countries or working across 2 countries, 3 countries, there will be very good card in terms of co-branding. Also to inform Moses, we did a digital media campaign from last year up to December. For 6 months, and the digital campaign, we were using paid ads, all the social media platform, Facebook and all that, and the analytics, so we are able to reach about 9 million people through that. And we are doing a second phase because what we need is like an offensive campaign to ensure that we roll out that Visit East Africa, Feel the Vibe, so that it can be felt within the region and internationally. So we are going to have that. What came to my mind is we need to work with the media houses or media experts. Probably we need to have sort of a media spotlighting activity where we involve experts from across the region. That's something that we can take up and discuss. Also, AFCON, we were challenged by I remember the last meeting of the council, our experts from the countries when they were considering the 7th EAC development strategy, and it was factored in as an activity that we need to work on this year up to when the AFCON takes place. And what we have done, we have developed a concept note whereby we are going to work with tourism boards, but we know we are time barred when it comes to engagement, and we look upon the support by the private sector. I can see Frank here, so that we can work with the tourism board in terms of EAC entering into the promotion of AFCON, not only as a sports activity, but as a tourism activity. So something is happening in that respect. So I see a lot of contribution that we're going to take as we finalize or fine-tune the activities that we are taking for this year and next year. So I really appreciate it. Thank you, and back to you. Moderator, back to you.
Yes, thank you so much, Simon. I see a hand from Musa Bunya Senteza. Quickly, then we go to a panel discussion. I'll take Musa as the last question. Musa, you may be, if you're talking, you're muted. I think Musa is muted. We have some comments from the chat. Moses, I think you had asked a question. What and when is the next joint regional tourism event? Secondly, are there any plans for the rest of the member countries to become part of the single tourism visa project? Maybe Simon, you could take note of those questions. Then there's an observation to Simon from Paya. Given the ongoing armed conflicts in the DRC, Somalia, and RSS, why are regional peace and security threats not being listed as critical, probably challenges? That probably part of what you highlighted as challenges. Then Patricia, what measures are being put in place to maximize the tourism potential during AFCON? I think that has been responded to. And Perpetu, is there harmonized pricing in regards to the tourism products across the EAC region? I don't know, anyone, maybe not put so much Simon on spot, anyone that would want to respond to this. But Simon, if you are able to respond to a few of those, or feel free. Especially from Perpetu, is there harmonized pricing in regards to the tourism products across the EAC region?
Thank you, Chair, Moderator. Number one, on when's the next expo? Let me say, we successfully held 3 EAC Tourism Expo. That is the first hosted by United Republic of Tanzania, actually during a very difficult time because that was immediately post-COVID. Then we had another one, the Republic of Burundi. We had another one hosted by Republic of Kenya, which was combined with Magical Kenya Tourism Expo. It was successful, and we learned a lot from that. And we were to have another one in 2024. But what happened, it was to be hosted by the Republic of Rwanda. But if you remember, that was the time the general elections were taking place. They had a lot of commitments. So they requested our partner state to host. So we requested one of the other partner states. But one of the challenges that we face in terms of funding, because we find the partner states that have their national expo, they're able to combine. For instance, Kenya successfully did that with Magical Kenyan Travel Expo. Uganda, they were very keen to combine that with Poate. Funding is an issue, and what we are doing, we are mobilizing resources so that we can continue with that good initiative. But also, we are encouraged or directed by the ministers, we need to participate in the expos that are already there because we are leveraging existing structures and frameworks. For instance, Karibu Fair. Last year, we participated at Karibu Fair in Arusha, and we had an EAC pavilion whereby Rwanda, Uganda, Tanzania, they were there. Even this year, we have sent communication out to the partner state tourism boards so that they can have their stands within the EAC pavilion. So because of funding challenges, we are leveraging what is available as we grow. I know it's going to take a bit of time for us to get exactly where we want to be, but efforts are being made. Single tourist visa, if you recall, that has been discussed over and over because the introduction of by the 3 partner states took place in 2014, and that was facilitated by what we call Northern Infrastructure Corridor because the other initiatives that were taking place. And there was a study that was looking at the feasibility of introduction of single tourist visa. During the meetings of the ministers, tourism, other partners have expressed interest in joining that, but what they need is a review of the study because the first initiative happened when EAC was a bit smaller. Now it has grown. So we need to refresh the study. Actually, through Trademark Africa, we have engaged a consultant who's going to work with us, going to work with the partner states in refreshing that study that's going to inform how do we move forward in terms of single tourist visa. Is it still feasible, or can we have other mechanisms that can support travel within the region? So that's a question still on the table. Work is ongoing. The issue of security, I really appreciate that contribution. It should be one of the major challenges. But also, if you see what is happening, we don't look at tourism like in in isolation, we look at EAC integration in general. A lot of efforts are happening in terms of restoration of peace where there is no peace. Like you have seen EAC participating in the DRC process. Also, a lot of efforts are taking place, but single tourism also helps. You know, when it's like there is peace in one region, tourists can visit. And when it's restored in the others, it's like they spread. So it's one of the strategies we are grappling with, their efforts. So, the highest level of EAC governance system, they are aware of that and making efforts. But I think we're going to include it as one of the challenges. In terms of pricing, this discussion has been there because we find in EAC almost all countries, they are rebel markets. But what we focus on is standardizing, because once we standardize, you know, it's like we're going to create a competitive market. We have high quality of service, and that means it's like we can, do the pricing fairly, because the idea is to have fair pricing, but also we have unique products. So we can't really control the market in terms of pricing. What we can work on is standardization and ensuring the quality of service offered is the right one. There's value for money. But in terms of standardizing, that is beyond, I think even at partner state level, there is liberalization. So, but we can focus on standardization. With that, I also like to note the reservations on multi-destination. We really appreciate that question. It's a critical question, and we're going to carry it forward as we try to develop the multi-destination tours. It's in my mind. Thank you. Over to you. All.
Thank you, Simon. I think that's well noted, and thanks for the responses. Musa, we still see your hand up. I don't know whether you are able to open your mic. Otherwise, there's another final question from Kennedy, and this also maybe participants like Winnie can respond. Does EAC have tour agencies abroad in key tourist source countries? Maybe Simon, from your statistics, and or any other colleague on the call. Anyone?
Siriri in the call.
Siriri.
I can attempt that Siriri can come in.
Okay, please go ahead.
The structure of EAC, especially Secretariat, is to play a coordination role. Unlike the partner states who have, like, for instance, Mission Road, EAC doesn't have. But we find the need to work with partners abroad, and the efforts that we have started, for instance, is during ITB 2025, we organized a forum for the German private sector to engage with our private sector with us, and we thought that can be continued. We were piloting with Germany, and we're trying to consolidate that because Germany is a key market for most of the partner states, for Kenya, for Tanzania. So that's an effort that we're looking at. How can we organize sort of engagement forums, abroad, especially in the key markets? Also, the challenge of funding comes in, but for EAC, we don't have like appointed travel agents or marketing agencies that we use abroad. But our role is to coordinate the efforts that are being made by partner states as well as the private sector. Siriri can come in.
Is Sirili on the call? Otherwise, we have a colleague that EABC supported for the ITB 25, Miss Winnie. If you're on the call, could you share experience, like how did it happen, and what were your observations and your recommendations? Winnie?
Yes. Good morning, everybody. Sorry, it cut off a little. Geoffrey, the question is?
The question is, does EAC have tour agents abroad in key tourist source countries? From experience during the last ITB, how was it done? What was the experience, and what would be your recommendation?
Okay. Yeah, so thank you very much for that question. So yes, I don't think that the EAC has representatives, but I know the EABC has actually been supporting people in tourism and services, at least insofar as the CFT is concerned, movement of people, persons here in terms of tourism, and also services, which is in the tourism sector. So yes, and I was among the people who are supported from the EAC to go to ITB, which is actually the leading expo in the world for the tourism sector. It's actually referred to as the World Cup of Tourism. There was a stand for, I think, that was sponsored by GIZ, which had a few tour operators from the different countries. And I think that's really been the intention, to ensure that we are promoting the destination, the region as a destination and not as individual countries, because each of the countries has something unique and different. I mean, we have the gorillas in Rwanda and Uganda that Kenya doesn't have. Kenya will have the other wildlife, and Uganda, and Rwanda have the gorillas. So really to promote, so that when someone is actually visiting the region, they get to see the different fauna and flora that the region has, so that we're all benefiting as one. And even as a country, I know a lot of the other expos that we have been doing, even as Kenya, we've actually been doing the expos, the international expos as they happen with the 3 countries within the same stand. So that when you're actually visiting the stand is not just Kenya, it is Kenya, Uganda, and Rwanda, which has been a very good thing that has gone on for a number of years now, and has promoted the region. So, but then the good thing is this year at ITB, we even had an East African stand, which was separate then from the other country stands, which now had the operators who are then selling as a destination. So it was a very good thing, and I really hope that it will grow bigger so that we have more operators being at the East African stand. Thank you very much, Geoffrey.
Thank you. Maybe Simon, we need to look at how maybe you can have creation of that agency that can be supporting in these organizations of events. Yes, there's a question from Patricia. She insists that whether she was responded, and I think the question is, what measures are being put in place to maximize the tourism potential during AFCON? Simon, from where you sit at the EAC, is there specific interventions during AFCON that you're looking at to promote our region? Hello, Simon.
Okay. Thank you. My response to that, we are still in initial stages of discussion, and we know the time is not on our side. Hello?
I don't know.
I think Kennedy, can you kindly mute your Kennedy Mukoya? Kennedy Mukoya, kindly mute your mic. You're disturbing. Cool. Thank you.
I'm saying we have started a discussion on that as EAC institutions, that is Secretariat, where we have several departments. We have Department of Tourism, we have the departments in charge of sports, we have department in charge of cultural affairs. Maybe you can mute.
I don't know whether it's...
Amo, can you kindly mute Mr. Kennedy? Yes, Simon, please go ahead.
Yeah. We started the discussion across the relevant departments and directorates, including East African Kiswahili Commission. So we can say we are still in initial stages. Time is not our side, because when we talk to the partner states, also that collaboration or a regional kind of engagement is still young. But we see countries have really advanced in terms of engaging their stakeholders. And we have talked to, for instance, some of the tourism boards to see how we can come in as a region. What we have in mind is coming up with activities that showcase, what we have, and we have to work with the private sector. For instance, we have, Tim was talking about, or Frank was talking about Mice Plus. When you have one like activity, then it can encourage the visitors to visit a few of the attraction sites. Also, we have like cultural events. For East Africa, we have, for instance, Jamafest that showcases the cultural heritage that we have. So we are thinking about having such shows within the key areas where the AFCON will be taking place. But we still, initial stages, we start engaging the private sector. That's on our mind. But that also depends on the support that we get from the focal ministries, from the partnerships, for the ministry in the 3 partnerships that are involved. I think that's all I can respond to that. There was an issue of what?
I think there's another question from Oric. I think this is from the statistics in terms of opportunities that you presented. And he asked in which area, specifically country specialty, are opportunities in education tourism? Which country in East Africa is best positioned for education tourism? Maybe, as I think you're still updating the data, but maybe do you have a response to that?
There was a slide that I shared.
Yes.
Amish,
you can put up the slides again.
Is it up? This slide with the matrix, when it comes to education.
Yes. Amanish, please kindly beam the slides again. Patrick, are you with Amani?
Sorry, maybe you can proceed as we project the presentation again, Geoffrey.
Okay. During the time we were developing the EAC tourism marketing strategy, we were trying to explore, the potential in countries. For instance, we are saying for like Kenya, it's quite strong because of presence of international schools and universities. So they can, attract, students from across the region. Also specialized training, for instance, tourism, Kenya Utalii College, with also the establishment of a similar college at the coast. So Kenya was seen to be like a strong candidate for education tourism. We have also Uganda, which has also been attracting students from across the region at secondary university level. Also with like for Tanzania, like Mweka College, it's one of the flagship institution when it comes to wildlife training, wildlife management training in the region. So, but to us, we feel there's an area that we need to really exhaust in terms of identifying the opportunities. We work with the relevant ministries, relevant organizations in terms of identifying or pinning down the actual activities, and then we promote that.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe to also complement you, I know like countries like Rwanda have various centers of excellence. For example, like the African Leadership University, Carnegie Mellon, Kepler, the University of Global Health Equity. These are like global centers of excellence. So I think also countries like those, Rwanda, Kenya, also present good opportunities for education tourism. Thank you. Mr. Moses, I see your hand. Is it a former hand or another hand that you raised? being mindful that you are
I
going
just want to give
yeah.
I just want to give a recommendation, perhaps as one of the outcomes of this discourse.
Okay.
From the ideas that have been put across, I would like to suggest that the EAC starts to organize annual EAC tourism conferences during which stakeholders in the tourism sector from the region can share experiences, best practices, generate ideas for joint activities and projects to implement. The expo can delay because each member country organizes an annual expo, but this joint ESC tourism conference can be a unique product that helps us to do reviews on the progress being made on the joint ESC projects in the tourism sector, share best practices, share ideas, and continue to bring on board, but also sensitize stakeholders in the region what they need to do, stuff like that.
Thank you, Moses. That's noted as a recommendation to feature in our recommendations for the webinar. I think another one from Patricia insists that thank you, Simon. It would be great to get these discussions, especially on AFCON, started early so that we are not rushing closer to the dates. Please do involve us in the process and let us know how we can be of assistance. Thanks, Patricia. I'm sure ESSA engages closely with national organization committees, and also EABC will be happy to be part of this process. Thank you very much, Simon, for your great time and contributions, presentation and responses. Please stick around if you can. I know in the panel discussions, we shall be having a few that may require your support if you can, but if you can't, please convey our appreciation to the DSG. I know you're caught in between a lot of programs and meetings you're coordinating, but thank you so much really for making time. If there's anyone from the Secretariat that is around that can keep around, happy to engage with him or her. And also, if you still have a few minutes for us, we appreciate.
Yes, Jeff.
Thank you.
I'm Maria Capina. I'm here from
Great.
EAC Secretariat. Yes.
Great, Maria. Thank you, and you're welcome. All right, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I think we are now entering a session of our panel. We have capacitated panelists from various backgrounds and experience. We have on our panel, we had Miss Sivi from Uganda, but she wasn't able to make it. We have Mr. Frank Gisha, who's the CEO of the East African Tourism Platform. We have Mr. Bagumako Edward, who's the chair of Burundi Association of Tour Operators. We have Tim Dinka, who's the MD of Learning and Discovery Africa, a seasoned tourist investor. We have Ms. Pauline Nduva, who's the chairperson of Kenya Association of Women in Tourism, as well as Charity Githingi, also from the Association of Women in Tourism. Maybe to set the grounds is that each panelist will have 4 to 5 minutes for intervention. We encourage that we will be concise and practical in our contributions. Of course, participants are invited to submit their questions or comments on our chat, as you've been doing, and reserve time to at the end of our webinar for any general interactions. Maybe to start, I would wish to recognize whether Ms. Nduva is on the call. Ms. Nduva, are you on the call? Ms. Nduva is on the call? Okay. Maybe we can proceed with Mr.
I'm actually on the call.
Oh, yes.
But this is Sive. This is Sive Timosime from Uganda.
Sive, finally. Karibu sana.
Yes. I've actually been listening in. My request is that you allow me to leave at midday because I have an engagement. as I had communicated.
Okay.
Yeah.
No problem. Maybe then we'll start with you. Stevie, maybe the EAC tourism, maybe to ask a question, the first question will be the EAC tourism sector has shown strong recovery after COVID, but progress remains uneven across partner states from your perspective as Auto, what are the key factors driving successful recovery, and what lessons can emerging tourism markets in the region learn from the stronger performers in Uganda, especially?
Okay, good morning to everyone. Thank you for
Morning.
having us on here, especially the Ugandan tour operators. So I'll quickly dive into it. The key drivers for successful recovery, one is the aggressive domestic and regional tourism promotion. An example of this has been the yearly fairs, but also Kili Fair, Magical Kenya, Powate, but also the Uganda-Kenya Coast Tourism Partnership. In our case, we've seen a lot of engagement from the team in Mombasa and the team in Uganda on a collabo where after selling safaris, then you can also sell the coast. We've seen government stimulus and incentives on the Ugandan part. We've seen just right in the middle of COVID, we saw government come in through the Uganda Development Bank. And please forgive me for speaking mainly about Uganda, but we've seen relief funds through Uganda Development Bank. We've seen the European Union also come in. We've seen a tourism facility specifically to help the tourism players to get out of the COVID period. There's been tax relief, for example. We Ugandans who own lodges or foreigners who own lodges outside the CBD, the Central Business District, are exempted from VAT, value-added tax. We've seen health protocols that have been in favor of tourists. When we went through that COVID period, there was a specific, the tourists went through a completely different channel, seamless, fast. There was they didn't have to hoard them in places for long periods as they waited for their COVID results. So we saw a lot of government incentives to keep the tourism businesses afloat. That notwithstanding, we saw a lot of people travel, domestic tourists travel within the country and also from the region into Uganda during that period. There's been product diversification and digital marketing. There's been a shift to experiential sustainable offerings and a leveraging on online platforms. If you've looked online after COVID, there's a lot of digital marketing, but most importantly, there's a lot of experiences, a safari experience, a gorilla experience. There's been a lot of experiences that are shown on the media, which I think have contributed a lot to visibility of the region in the markets. There's private sector agility. We've seen, for example, at the Association of Uganda Tour Operators, we've seen tour operators more intentional about going into new markets. South America. Interestingly, even when there was a war between Russia and Ukraine, we saw some tour operators going to Russia to bring in business. We've also seen them head into Asia, Singapore. If you were there for the trade show, you saw a bigger presence of Africa and specifically East Africa from the year before. And lastly, infrastructure investments that have eased travel restrictions. We've seen a lot of investment even by government in tourism infrastructure, in the training and hospitality school in Uganda. We've seen a lot of investments in the road network to make it more seamless travel. We've seen improvements in the aerodromes and the airports. So there's been a lot of infrastructure investments, and from a Ugandan perspective, tourism has been one of the 4 priority areas that government has decided to focus on alongside agriculture, manufacturing, and skilling. So I think that we've seen a lot of government input, which we had not seen in the past. But more importantly, just before I get into the lessons for emerging markets, we need to acknowledge that East Africa is the only thing that changes who we are the borders. And without those borders, we are one people. And we've seen a lot of traffic coming in from Tanzania and from Kenya. We have a lot of traffic coming in from Rwanda. I personally sell Tanzania more than I sell Uganda, unfortunately, because of the demand. So we've seen a lot of cooperation between the two operators in Uganda and their companies and the two operators in Tanzania, in Kenya, and in Rwanda. And we've also seen a bit of, they're more receptive. The East African countries are more receptive to the other countries, which I think is, for me, is very eye-opening and very impressive. Now, the lessons to emerging markets. Oh, we've also seen flights that are coming in from Serengeti into Kisoro, direct flights into Kisoro, which had not been in the past, and now a lot of them are actually coming in. I would also like to bring to your attention that a lot of the players in the Ugandan market are actually from the East African community. We have Kenyan operators in Uganda, actually working in Uganda. I know of some Ugandan operators who have set up shop in Tanzania and in Kenya and in Rwanda. So it's nice to know that the borders are no longer impending selling destination East Africa. So the lessons for emerging markets, I think there's a need to prioritize public-private partnerships. It would be nice to see more PPPs. It would be nice from a tour operator perspective to invest in data-driven recovery plans by government. Data has been a challenge for a long time, and it's important that we now focus on data both for research and also for planning. Build crisis resilience through diversified markets, first domestic and regional markets, and then international markets, and harmonize protocols, especially the East African protocols earlier. Stronger performers show that sustainability and community involvement accelerate recovery while protecting assets like wildlife. It would be nice for East Africa, and in particular Uganda, to concentrate on cultural tourism, the people, the food, the culture, culinary, and see how we can build on this culture, the batwa, the ik, the other cultural elements, the longhorned and kole cattle, are things that are unique to Uganda, and sell them across East Africa. Emerging players should focus on skills retention and digital readiness to avoid prolonged downtowns. Now, one of the challenges I see from our side is the inequity. For example, we have a challenge in skilling, and yet Tanzania and Kenya and maybe Rwanda have better skilling schools. So it would be important to say how well can we work together to see how we skill, or even have people come in, because if you drive around the properties in Uganda, you'll find a lot of, I don't want to be specific, but a lot of East Africans working in these properties. So it would be nice to share experiences, but also skill each other depending on what one's strength is. How do we capitalize on Uganda or Kenya's strength to benefit the region? And how do we capitalize on Tanzanian strength to better the safari experience in Uganda, in Rwanda, in Burundi, or in Kenya? So it would be nice for this particular platform to see how best we can work together and capitalize on how do we pull one who's struggling in a particular area and make them better, and also see how to sell destination East Africa as a whole. When I went to Singapore, somebody was struggling, one of the people I met was struggling to say, where exactly is Uganda? Is Uganda Kenya? is Uganda, Tanzania. And I was like, no, that's East Africa. And she's like, East Africa is a country. I said, no. So there's a lot of enlightenment that has to go out there for people to realize what we offer as a region, but also what we can offer, what is our potential 5 years from today as a region in terms of offerings to the rest of the world. Thank you.
Thank you, CV. I know you're leaving in the next 1 minute, but I just really wanted to pick from you, from your wide knowledge. We have, as our EDs pointed out, quite a number of challenges the tourism sector is facing, including skills gap, infrastructure, etc. Like, which of these challenges, maybe from where you see it, do you consider the most urgent, and maybe what would be the practical actions that governments or policymakers, as well as also as private sector, should prioritize in terms of addressing them? Maybe in 1 minute as you leave us. Thank you.
So for me, the major challenges from the Ugandan perspective, one is infrastructure. The distance from Uganda from Entebbe Airport, International Airport, to go and see the gorillas is about 9 hours. And you'll find that a lot of people are actually now coming in through Rwanda to see the gorillas in Uganda as well, because it's a shorter distance. So infrastructure for me, and infrastructure is not just roads or aerodromes. Infrastructure is internet access, water, electricity, all that is infrastructure. So it would be nice to see government go into a deeper focus on infrastructure in order for the tourists to actually reach their destination in a seamless manner. The other challenge on our part as Uganda was before they actually took it away, was the East African visa. And we discovered that it had issues, and the issues are government to government issues. And therefore, from a private sector perspective, that would have been such a good opportunity for somebody to come and visit the East African region without any hindrances, especially at border posts. Thirdly, for us is skilling. There's a very big skilling gap in the hospitality industry in Uganda. And whereas there's been efforts by a lot of agencies to come in and help with the skilling, we're still not where we should be as a country. So skilling for me is very important.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, CV. Much appreciated. Would have wanted to love to stay with you, but no problem. We'll share with you the outcomes from this webinar. And thank you for making time, really, and convey our regards to Auto and all the tourist players in Uganda. Thank you so much.
We'll do that. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. Maybe this goes to Mr. Tim Mdinka. As a tourism investor and a person in business, I know Tanzania remains one of the leading tourism destinations in the region, particularly in wildlife, culture, and coastal tourism. From where you sit and your perspectives as a tour operator, what emerging opportunities do you see for expanding tourism business and regional tourist flows within the EAC, just beyond, not necessarily Tanzania?
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, we of course I'll pick from Madame Duva that she made her comments just after COVID all the way to where we are now. During COVID, we learned a lot that we've never even experienced since we, as an industry in Tanzania, got to go through all these challenges, and then we came up with a few solutions, and then later on, after 2-3 years, we came back to business. Actually, our country took really initiative. I think everybody knows that even our president took initiative personally to go out of the office and go to promote the product of tourism in Tanzania in the global market. And then since then the business became like really lucrative. And then we had big numbers of tourists and big number of arrivals compared even before COVID. So that really gave us another learning as we came up to understand that we can have so many tourists and we can still even increase the number. But one thing we learned that really came up after that was when we promoted much on the wildlife tourism, we really kind of did so well to the point that it kind of brought numbers that we did not expect. So, for example, areas that like in Ngorongoro Conservation Area, the crater flow itself became like one of the hotspot, and everybody wanted to visit. Talking about Serengeti, on the northern part of Serengeti, we had these extraordinary numbers. This is because of the good promotion through our Tanzania Tourist Board and all other stakeholders like private sector and special groups and special strategies that really create that results. If you look at the tourism history, evolution, and how does it come up to this moment, especially in Tanzania, which is going to really affect the whole East Africa, it's high time now to rethink and reimagining where is this tourism and conservation kind of go. And if we have few kind of things that we've learned, especially Tanzania, that we really need to come up with a new product of tourism, probably the product that have been there, but we never use them as a part of this promotion and stuff like that. If you look at for example, one product, say, I mentioned it before, geotourism as being the solution, it has a lot of benefits, not only in Tanzania, but I would say all over East Africa. Geology is like the mother of everything. We have this global geopark called the Lengai Ngorongoro Lengai Geopark, whereas there are only two in Africa. There's one in Morocco and this one in Tanzania, geopark. If you go through the communities that they are part of this geopark, you realize there's a lot of changes and a lot of solutions when it comes to issues that have been brought up by wildlife tourism and bring some issues. For example, the conflict of boundaries between villages and the protected areas. You realize that now these communities, they start to understand that they are part and parcel of conserving these areas because they get direct finance or direct benefit from geotourism. Whereas these tourists, they go direct visit these communities. Not only communities, but even if you go to government levels like ward level, maybe district level, for example, this district council and whatever, most of this benefit that tourists bring, it's spread all over to everyone. So when it comes to discussion, like how do we deal with boundaries of the protected areas, everybody will be part and parcel to discuss about it. Not like always when government talk about the boundary of this protected area, will be like a discussion of two teams, like competing, like, no, this is my land, this is my land. But now is that they discuss together, what about this boundary? You understand? When it comes to poaching, the same. They see this animal who is standing and moving back and forth in the protected area, outside the protected area. Both of these two management, they benefit. So at the end of the day, even people who were thinking of poaching and maybe stealing like these trophies and whatever, they now become part and parcel to help conserving and protecting these animals. But also you look at in a bigger picture, even when it goes to marketing as a destination, you don't really consider much of this protected area, but you also consider outside the protected area. Now, even if you don't even talk about it yourself, but villages, I mean, as a conservator or as a management authority, even villages, they talk about bring your tourists here. We're going to show them where we believe that our rituals, maybe our ancestors that were buried or whatever life happened before now. These sacred places. Kids, for example, in Karatu, I've seen those children in primary school. They sing conservation. They talk about how can we make these protected areas stay there for another 20, 30, 50 years. These are kids in the primary school, like standard 4, standard 6, standard 7. It's so amazing that you find geotourism does not only bring tourists in the destination, but also impact conservation and make these people surround these areas as part of conservationist. We as private sector, it helps us a lot to really work with them. Excuse me?
Sorry, someone is talking. Just go ahead. They are going to mute them. Just go ahead.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought that somebody was okay. So that is one of the area we think of. If East Africa or as a region, we could come up with a strategy and maybe plan.
Hello. Have we lost Mr. Tim?
Oh, sorry. I was muted. So I said that is one area that we could look and see how can we strategize and come up with a roadmap. But also, I think it's high time now to start looking. There are so many benefits. I cannot have time to mention. I still have like 2 or 3 of them. I'll mention maybe in the email to share with everybody. But also, if you look at the Lake Victoria Basin. I know this is part of the East Africa community kind of institution or firm. The Lake Victoria has already connected us, East Africa. We can really capitalize and introduce, and maybe some countries, I know they've done a lot on tourism, especially Uganda. But areas like Tanzania, Kenya, and other parts, we could really strategize and bring about a product that will be so unique that will complement wildlife tourism, especially in Tanzania with Serengeti National Park and Lake Victoria, maybe Uganda, maybe, I don't know, other countries. I cannot tell much about other countries, but this also can be another area that will be really promoted and really come up with a roadmap and maybe a plan or strategy that will help these communities around Lake Victoria. We have been doing a lot of fishing, connecting with the blue economy and other economies that are really doing well, mining and whatever, and transform them to become product of tourism. Is going to really help this part of the country. I mean, of the country in East Africa. One thing that I would also touch is emphasizing on active tourism. It's a little bit challenging to really explain and define what is active tourism, because always when you say active tourism, people, they think of running, maybe walking safaris, maybe biking, whatever. But if you look in a nutshell, a little bit deeper, it's about activating and maximizing the experience of a client or tourist in a specific destination. Is about activating sustainable conservation in a very designated areas or locations. Is about activating responsible tourism, which is the key for all these communities to really understand that tourism is not about policymakers and country and whatever, but also these local people, they are part and parcel of it. So I think as a region, we should now really emphasize on active tourism that will really come up with so many solutions especially in wildlife conservation and wildlife tourism in our East Africa region. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you so much. And I like the point of inclusivity, right from the public, private, as well as the local community in engaging in this intervention. Thank you so much. I'll get back to you, especially on digital platforms. I really want to bring in Pauline. I know Pauline has a flight shortly. But Pauline, I really wanted to get your perspective if you're still on the call, especially the EAC often is promotes the idea of a single tourism destination, but really in practical terms, from where you sit as a chairperson, what are the policy and institutional measures needed to strengthen this idea of regional tourism as a single tourist destination, just beyond words and initiatives, but practically, what do we tell these policymakers? This is what we need as a private sector if this initiative has to happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Thank you for having me. My name is Pauline Duba from the Kenya Association of Women in Tourism. I'm based in Diani, the hospitality sector. And first of all, I've been privileged to be part of the team that has been coordinating the Kenya Coast to Uganda tourism promotion, guided by the Uganda Consulate in Mombasa for the last 5 years. So I've learned a lot in the integration of the tourism products between especially the Kenya Coast and Uganda in this process. And so in my opinion, what requires and what has been a challenge is first the requirement for every East African traveling to another East African country to get a tourism visa, connection between the destinations. For example, in our case where we were working with the Uganda Consulate in Mombasa to promote mostly destination Uganda and also for Ugandans to actually sample the Kenya coast, one of the biggest challenges was a connection. Finally, of course, currently Uganda Airlines flies from Entebbe to Mombasa direct, which is very easy now to connect. But then again, not everyone can afford the flights. They are very expensive. And so that means you really have to look for other ways of traveling. If you use Kenya SGR, that would be Mombasa, Nairobi, then you need to take a bus from Nairobi to Kampala or whichever destination you're going into. But strengthening the simple tourism destination agenda, we can expand that fully by implementing East Africa Tourist Visa, which should be harmonized. But then again, this will require harmonization of the immigration systems. We are very fragmented as East Africans in this aspect. And also the expectations of the different immigration sectors of each of the countries have different policies. So policy harmonization would really work for all the member states of the East African community. We should also liberalize air travel so that we can have liberalized air connectivity. I think another point that I would want to bring to perspective is the circuit, the integration of the circuits in terms of packages, where if I am traveling to East Africa, for example, and I want to sample all the 4 or 5 different countries and I can get a package, then I will be able to pay probably one single entry visa in one of the destinations, and then I can be able to access the rest of the destinations without having to actually pay again. I have seen a lot of Kenyan tour operators, for example, and I'm talking about Kenya because I'm Kenyan and work with a good number of them. You will understand that I'm at the airport, so there's a bit of noise at the background. So if you can't hear me, just let me know. So I was saying, when I've I've seen a lot of Kenyan tour operators, for example, market destinations like Asia, Europe, in multiple countries. You see a lot of Kenyans promoting, for example, Singapore, Malaysia, Bali, Bangkok, Turkey, and many other countries combined, and they're able to do that very well. Then it becomes so difficult to sell East Africa. That is where it becomes mind-boggling, why it's so easy to sell, for example, Europe, combining, for example, Greece and another destination, or Germany, Switzerland, Austria, Netherlands together. And you can make a very quick package and sell that more easily than you can actually sell East Africa itself. So I think that is where we need to really strengthen our collaboration. I think also the tourism boards need to work together because, again, if the Uganda Tourism Board, for example, is working in a silo, and so is the Kenya Tourism Board and Rwanda Tourism Board, it becomes very difficult. And so I think because of this, we end up with a lot of fragmented marketing strategies. It's good to know that in ITB, for example, the East Africa community was promoting East Africa by itself. But then when we were promoting East Africa together in one and with the tour operators, what about the visa and the entry? You find it sometimes even the Kenyan just moving across to, for example, Tanzania, which is just next door, is very difficult without having to apply for a permit, entry permit. It's easier to actually travel to Rwanda and Uganda because you can actually use your national ID. But with Tanzania, you still have to get a permit. So I think there's still a lot to be done in terms of the visa, especially, and the immigration systems, but also a liberalized regional air transport, rail transport, and general infrastructure would really help in this region. I don't know if I've captured the response to your question, Jack.
I think that's very clear. Thank you. I hear you when you talk about the need for harmonization of tourism visa regime, immigration systems, the air connectivity, the single entry visa, but also importantly on the tourism boards working together. That's very clear. But I think Maria Capina is listening. These are clarion calls we've been really advocating for the EAC level, and I hope there's some work going on. Maybe we'll hear from her soon. I understand. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Pauline. I wish you a safe flight to your next destination, and I hope to connect with you in the next other engagements.
Thank you. Maybe I could just comment quickly on women because
Yes.
I represent a women organization, and there
Yes,
was
please go ahead.
comment on women and what really needs to be done for women in this sector to grow. From the statistics, I think we all know that women are the biggest players in terms of numbers in this industry, but what kind of empowerment can be given to women to be able to continue? One of them is targeted financing mechanisms. From my experience, even though women are big players in this industry, they are the most disenfranchised in terms of access to financing, access to training opportunities, and procurement frameworks. So this is because most of the time women-led enterprises are small, one, and secondly, women do not own a lot of what we would call collateral, for example, owning land, owning property, to be able to even access bank loans in the bank. And so that makes it very difficult for them to even scale up their enterprises to grow to a level where they can compete uniformly with other investors. So at the East African community level, as we're trying to promote East Africa as one region, we also need to address the matter of capacity building women and youth as well, to be able to grow with the industry as it grows, and not just providing the very basic of services, even though they're the ones who are actually doing the most of the work. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pauline. Thank you. That's very, very, very understandable. And I think also the EAC notes, as they do work on the joint or marketing of the region, they need to come out with clarity on what is special for these interest groups like women and youth, especially on targeted financing mechanisms, of course, the procurement, as well as the capacity building. I think that's something to note. Thank you so much, Madam Pauline. Have a great day and safe travels ahead. Maybe I know Charity is also leaving us, but allow me to also pose a question, Charity, especially on digitalization part. I know, of course, digital technology and evolving travel preferences are transforming the tourism industry globally and within our region. But how are women, especially in Tanzania, from where you sit, adapting to these changes, and what additional support is needed to strengthen competitiveness in this digital economy and digital space that we're in terms of tourism industry and promotion?
Thank you, Jeff, and it's great being on this call. Digital space is evolving every day, and women entrepreneurs in Tanzania are increasingly using digital platforms for marketing purposes, reservations, customer engagement, and the visibility for their respective companies. As you are aware, we have seen an uptake by women in terms of investments within the sector, and largely tourism employs over 70% women and youth in the different establishments. So we are seeing a rise in social media, online booking systems, new companies coming up, digital payment platforms, and virtual storytelling to help the smaller business enterprises to address the global market. So it is imperative that women are kept abreast of the changes that are happening, whether they can be able to set up platforms where women can be able to see the new things that are coming up. And right now, the use of AI it has become the norm. So women should be given opportunities to understand how AI can be able to help them in their respective businesses, because AI is here to work with us as a people, but AI will also be able to enhance the way we promote our businesses, and also the content that we are able to create using AI, without necessarily having to pay expensive tariffs to be able to showcase our businesses. Women enterprise or women-owned businesses still face challenges related to the digital skills. They are also limited in the way they are able to access affordable technology. And one major thing that is a problem is getting reliable internet connectivity. So you find we have downtime, or sometimes the internet is not so reliable. So that is something that should be able to be looked into. And I said capacity building in digital marketing, artificial intelligence, content creation, and being able to also understand how we can be able to use e-commerce. So we need to get support mainly to get support and also to partner with private sector, development institutions, so that we can be able to strengthen women's digital literacy, innovation, as well as access to funding. Because like putting up some of these websites, interactive websites, and e-commerce, it's not cheap. So we should also be able to encourage youth participation in technology, so that we can be able to position Tanzania to competitively be able to use digital space in future tourism activities. I submit.
Thank you, Charity. Thank you so much. The world is AI is taking over. So we need, as we said, we need to position ourselves to be competitive, where we show competitive advantage versus other RECs that are near us. So I think I hear you, it's even especially ensuring that we have access to this information, being AI savvy as well as digital literacy. So I think the tourism boards and federations, associations have a lot to do in ensuring that their members are adaptable to this new world order. So thank you so much, and I also wish you a great day ahead in your engagements. I would have wanted to stay with you, but please, those questions that we shared with you, if you can work on them and so revert back to us, I'll be helpful because we need to hear from you widely. So hope to engage with you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. I'll share that with you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Maybe to hear from Burundi, Mr. Edouard. I hope you're still on the call, Mr. Edouard. Is Mr. Edouard still on the call from Burundi?
Yes, I am, please.
Thank you, sir. So just sort of a question for you. As the tourism sector recovers and evolves post the COVID-19 pandemic, what policy recommendations would you propose to EAC partner states to create a more enabling environment for tour operators in Burundi, but also across the region? Really, what policy environment is needed to ensure that as we recover from COVID, it is sustainable, the recovery process is sustainable?
First of all, I must say thank you for the meeting you organized, and you saw that we need much time to discuss about tourism. We need to have other sessions like this, so that we can see how to address challenges we have in tourism. And first of all, in Burundi, we have we are starting with tourism, while other countries are maturing now. So we need for environmental sorry, I'm just for the enable environmental
You're breaking. I don't know whether you're in a good network area, but you're breaking.
I think that, yeah, maybe internet is here not very good, but I hear you well.
Yes, please go ahead. Mr. Edouard, can you hear us?
Hello.
Yes, can you hear us? Please go ahead. I think I'll come back to Mr. Edouard. I'll come back to Mr. Edouard. Maybe to bring this question again to Mr. Tim. What would be the best good enabling environment that could really show post-COVID recovery? What would be the best good enabling environment that the governments should put in place to ensure the sustainability of tourism in general? Mr. Tim.
Well, thank you very much. And I also appreciate my fellow speakers on the issue of tourism development. I see two things. One, we should now look at new policy, new strategies, and roadmap as we now live in a new era, different from previous, even before COVID and after COVID. As I said, the growth of tourism and travel in the world has changed. And I'm looking forward to see our government in specific countries to start looking in a different perspective, reimagining like what are we going to really work on sustainability when it comes to conservation and wildlife. And one key area I'm repeating again, and I believe that will help on this area, especially in wildlife conservation and tourism, is new product of tourism that will encourage people not to really use things that will destroy and harm the whole habitat of wildlife, animals, birds, and whatever that will be, destroying the home for this wildlife. For example, we can still do wildlife tourism without introducing massive infrastructures to these protected areas. Sorry, I'm disconnected. We can still introduce activities that will reduce introducing of massive infrastructure in the areas. For example, we normally use vehicles when a client comes to a specific country. If we can reduce the number of days that tourists will spend driving, that will help a lot when it comes to sustainability of conservation on these wildlife areas and protected areas, and introduce like experiencing life with villages, culinary, for example, stargazing at night instead of spending night inside protected areas. We can do outside protected areas, studying about the sky. What happens with people when they see a particular star or whatever? So those are kind of activities, and the product will bring to complement or reduce consuming time inside protected areas. So that will be one of the areas I'm really thinking of doing it. The other area is areas like, as I said, Lake Victoria. We are going to introduce this, and most tourists will spend more time in the water and in the areas that are not even accessed by
Mr. Tim, we lost you. But thanks. I think your contributions are well heard, especially on the Lake Victoria and most of those comments you've put across. I want to bring the last panelist from East African Tourism Platform, Mr. Frank. Are you on the call, please? Just to confirm.
Yes, yes, sir. I'm on a call.
Good, thank you. Just at a regional perspective, really looking ahead at a region, and maybe you want to look at your priorities from where you sit. What are the top recommendations for accelerating sustainable growth, resilience, and competitiveness of the tourism sector at the EAC level, maybe in the next mid or short term, like 5 years to come? Like, what are those? What are your priorities? Like, what are those recommendations that you're working on to ensure that tourism is seamless? All these discussions that we've had, and then the challenges that they're in are actually unlocked as a regional body. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Komanzi, for this exciting session. And as I speak, I do see more exciting ones coming. I mean, from your end, with which we're happy to, support, to, make sure that our stakeholders into the entire value chain can really, benefit, but also become participatory in making tourism maximize benefits across the EAC? Well, just maybe that's a very good question on perspectives, but also looking at the mandate of the East Africa Tourism Platform, maybe as a matter of background, formed in 2011 and became operational in April 2012. And this was a member state decision to ensure that at least we maximize returns from every investment each member country is making to ensure that tourism drives employment and sustainable economic development. And this was a mandate that would be supported by member states. Us as a Tourism Private Sector Association and EATP, our mandate is much more capacity building, advocacy, and creating business opportunities. A lot has been said, and of course we do look forward to implement our mandate through those areas that I've just mentioned. But again, when you look at, the why, we've all talked about, the harmonization, which is key. And we went ahead to talk about, products. Colleagues excitingly were talking about diversification, the capacity building, the digitalization, the inclusiveness, all lie into our major pillars of what we are looking forward to support member states, to support private sector associations across the region, to make sure that we push towards common benefit. Tourism is just a simple but complicated industry in a way, but all around it turns all, across three major metrics: value, volume, and the length of stay. Value, I mean, who your buyers or your arrivals, how much are they living into your destination, into your country? That's the value. Volume, how many are we? Always clap hands for the number of arrivals. But again, when you look at the backside of the coin of arrivals, I think the speaker who we've just lost was mentioning about sustainability, but sometimes somewhere you would find that arrivals can as well pose a threat to our environment. And here, when we don't have forests and water bodies today, the tourism we sell in the next 50 years might be, depleted. So striking that balance, we bring it in a voice of advocacy. But beyond that, also speakers talked about, the challenges, from the travel bottlenecks that East Africa faces, to the connectivity from airlift. Airlift is key in, this travel trade. And here, there is another part which we always forget, which is the aviation sector. So how do we come in holistically? But again, into the investment part of it, how do we get to, the financing institutions and the stakeholders? Since the beginning, we've been, as EATP, we've been supported by, of course, EAC. EABC has played a great role. Then Trademark East Africa by then now has grown bigger to Trademark Africa. And we've seen GIZ also playing a bigger role, the MasterCard Foundation. How do we bring on these stakeholders? Yes, PPP, public-private sector partnerships are great. But again, how do we bring in other supporting development partners? And then when we talk about challenges like these travel bottlenecks, the connectivity, and the multi-destination packaging issues that we still have. Yet we know that 70% of global travel bookings, would look into one. You go through digitalized, channels, and we find that, for instance, MasterCard is supporting digitalization and the women. That aligns to the inclusiveness, but also how do we make it possible for businesses to thrive, for the youth-led or women-led businesses, to thrive? And we know that digitalization or ICT is an enabler. So we're looking at those broader lines. But again, in terms of numbers, I always love to address my, challenges when it comes to existing issues in terms of numbers. When we talk about, say, what can government do practically to ease travel? First, make travel easy. How? Simplify and digitalize visa and border processes, fully operationalize the single EAC tourist visa, harmonized entry requirements, all those ones, you find that they align perfectly to these reports of the UN Tourism and OECDs, which always show us that regions with the simplified visa regimes grow their arrivals to up to 20% faster than those destinations that are closed. Second, you could talk about connecting circuits, support short-haul regional flights. Don't make a flight from Kigali to Zanzibar more expensive than flying to Dubai. Of course, the Nigerians who are bigger spenders across Africa will decide to fly to Dubai when they have come to Rwanda for a meeting, and they would want to do after Rwanda MICE, and then they do Zanzibar or Diani. And again, our tour operators, our hoteliers, our airlines, and other platforms must design and make, market multi-country packages in a way. One sister, I think it was Madam Githinji, mentioned about the knowledge of what is happening where. But one way of making your guests stay across the region is sharing knowledge. And mostly when I've been getting opportunity to travel across these hospitality establishments from Diani, Nairobi, Dar es Salaam, Arusha, and Kigali, Kampala, you've been here. Do you have a colleague? And this is a voice to the private sector now. Do you have a business colleague or a business partner in Rwanda who is doing the same business? Remember, we said repeat business is not that common in tourism. But one last question frequently asked by a tourist when returning home after having a great experience is that where are you planning me next to go? So if maybe he or she has been to one of the countries and where we have diverse products across East Africa, so where else would you recommend? And a recommendation from you as the previous host will really count more and more heavily. So when I'm talking about now and I'm aligning this to the capacity building. So the capacity building mostly is for private sector. The advocacy is to government. We've done a lot into advocacy as the EATP. If you remember, of course, with support of you guys at the EABC from the most recent one would always remember would be harmonizing, this COVID-related strategy protocol. But also we've done a lot with the continuous advocacy in airspace, where we had, small slight issues between KQ and Tanzania coming in, but also regional tourism marketing, as with joint campaigns, we had the Tembea Nyumbani that's ongoing. So the capacity building that we do for now comes in for the private sector to absorb these existing opportunities. Policy will always be policy, and each member state, sovereign member states, when it comes to region integration, you're not expecting each member state to start at the same, timing and end similar. Some will be coming in following, depending on, of course, domestic member state priorities. So that's why private sector tourism is always public sector led but private sector driven. If sometimes government come to us as private sector, governments come to us to ask us data. Recently, when I was for the past 2 years, 3 years, we've been working, to support these coast and Uganda tourism, from the consulate in Mombasa. But now we've seen that the intra-regional travel has increased the, tourism between Kenya and the coast to a level of 20%. So now the advocacy, to convert this into advocacy, is showing these numbers to these two governments, to Kenya and Uganda, and like, hey, now we need to build more than this. Ugandans are taking, wedding tourism to the coast. What can Kenyans have the same regarding culture and others? So those numbers, it's us as private sector. Actually, now this is a call to action for private sector. Let's lead it. Remember, our policymakers are busy. Remember, our regional counterparts who are doing advocacy. I'm talking about EAC and EABC on the business wing. They are handling a lot. It's not only tourism that is into, the funnel of business. So what we have to do is really stand up, supporting platforms that scale regional impact. Let's not isolate, the projects that we're working on. We have the assets. Assets are here, the demand is here, the evidence is here. What is needed now is collective action, coordinated policy, and bold implementation. If East Africa moves together, tourism can become one of the strongest engines of jobs, investment, and regional integration across the EAC. I thank you. I submit for now. Any questions, I'm happy to respond. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Frank. And it looks like the mandate is huge. Of course, as you mentioned, there's need for joint advocacy, coordinated capacity building initiatives, supporting the platforms, but most importantly, generating data that will inform these decisions. I don't know whether Mr. Edouard is back. Edouard, if you're good in network area, please, if you could just allude to the questions earlier asked. Then
I'm
we have
hearing you.
then we have a question from Mr. Amin, which I think our ED will take on at the end of it, because that's a mandate of the EABC. Yes, please, Mr. Edouard.
Yes. Yes, thank you very much. I was asked to talk about how partner states could create a more enabling environment for tour operators and tourism enterprises across the region. Is that correct?
Yes, please. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Countries could harmonize and liberalize market access because each country here has different visa rules, work permit requirements, and licensing for tour operators. Burundi's exit from visa is now using e-visa. We have only a problem of paying in online. What we can recommend is to have a fully operationalization of the EAC single tourist visa. Mutual recognition of tour operators' licenses. If a tour operator is licensed in one partner state, a tour operator should be able to operate cross-border tours in other countries, country members. Third position, we can liberalize ground handling and tour guide services to allow EAC registered guides and drivers to operate across borders with minimum permits. Secondly, we have to look at air access and connectivity. We have a big problem of intra-EAC airfares and low frequency here in Burundi, and I think in other countries also. And that kill multi-country tourism. Airlines complain of low foreign passengers. So we have to look at this and fix air access and connectivity. We can recommend to reduce aviation taxes and fees. We have to lobby our government through EAC, EATP also, so that it can be addressed at the EAC level. We have to implement Yamoussoukro decision, for example, fully, to remove restrictions on fifth freedom rights so airlines can fly Bujumbura, Nairobi, Kigali without stopping in home country. Joint Route Development Fund, EAC states and airlines, private sector co-fund marketing for new routes. I think Rwanda has already done this. On third position, we have to standardize standards and data because we have no common quality standards, so regional marketing is weak. Data on arrivals is inconsistent. So we recommend adopt EAC-wide classification and grading for hotels, lodges, tour operators, and tour operators. That can make it easier for buyers to compare. We have also to create, we must also create a regional tourism data portal so that we can we can note monthly arrivals, spend, source market, and the private governments and the private sector could plan better with real data on the ground. We have also to recommend common training curriculum for guides and hospitality staff recognized across EAC. At fourth position, we have to ask, we have to improve investment and small and medium enterprise support. The problem is that small and medium enterprises can't access finance and face inconsistent tax regimes. We recommend that these EAC tourism guarantee fund the risk lending for lodges, tour operators, transporters, AFDB, ICA could ensure it. Tax incentives for green tourism investment, that mean capital allowances for solar, water cycling, recycling, waste management in parks and lodges. One-stop investment desk could be implemented in each country so that they can handle permits, land, environmental approvals at maximum in a minimum period. We have also to joint marketing and crisis management. The problem is that individual countries market alone. Negative perception of one state hurts the whole region. We recommend that EAC fund tourism board properly, move from project-based to sustained funding for regional campaigns in Europe, US, Asia, and other source markets. We have also to recommend a regional crisis communication protocol. If security incident happens in one country, EAC coordinates messaging, so whole region isn't blacklisted. We have also to recommend to promote multi-country circuits. Northern circuit, for example, Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi packages with revenue sharing mechanism. We have also to protect parks and communities across borders. The problem is that parks like Kibira in Burundi, Kibira, Ruvubu in Burundi, Kagera in Rwanda, Serengeti face poaching, enroachment, and rangers are underpaid. We recommend that cross-border park management agreement so that there can be joint anti-poaching units, revenue sharing for transboundary parks, community benefits schemes. We recommend also the community benefit schemes, standardize percentage of park fees going to communities to reduce enroachment. We recommend also EAC ranger training and welfare funds to raise standards and retention. That is what I have relieved to the question of how we can enable environment where tour operators are operating. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that elaborate and exhaustively responding to this question. I think you bring in a great recommendations, especially, you know, when if partner states can really implement the Yamasukro decision and there is the extension of freedoms, most of these airfares will definitely go down. of course, access to connectivity, that's infrastructure you're talking about, liberalizing tours and fares, and as well as classification of lodges and to operate. These are good recommendations, and we take note. And I thank you very much. There's a question that has been asked by Mr. Amin. And do you want to voice over the question so that maybe you can provide a good response? Anyway, the question is, if I could just voice over it, is it says, my question to participants here is this: the goal of this webinar is to develop the tourism sector in Tanzania and the wider region. So what tools do you have to translate these discussions into concrete action and as soon as possible to ensure practical application and sustained impact? Is there a follow-up committee tasked with overseeing the implementation of the webinar's discourse over the long term? Thank you very much. I will take on this. At EABC, we organize such engagements to pick issues from our members, from the wider private sector that is in a sectoral perspective. And today was about tourism. We'll go to transport, we'll go to manufacturing. So what we get from these such engagements, that we develop policy briefs. Then we submit this policy brief to EAC Secretariat, who we advocate through. So in terms of a committee, we take it on at EABC level because there's a trade and services desk at the Secretariat, which I represent. So believe me that together with the organs like EATP and other tourism organizations, we do a joint voice from this discourse, and we push these policy recommendations to the EAC Secretariat for discussion, further intervention. So that's how our advocacy is structured. Then we push from that side as soon as the policy brief is submitted to the Secretariat. But for other engagements, please feel free to engage EABC to ensure that these issues that have been discussed are followed up. We promise you that we'll push as much as we can. I don't know if there's any question on any other hands. Otherwise, we are way past time that we had allocated for this webinar. If there's any one burning comment, we're happy to receive. Yes, Joanne.
Hello, can you hear me?
Perfectly, we can. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Please allow me to extend a note of appreciation to ABC for putting this together. My name is Joan Dungu. I am actually from Diani Beach in Kwale County, that is in the Kenya coast. I am actually really humbled that Diani Beach has been mentioned by several speakers here as a successful case study of what the regional markets, of the potential that the regional markets hold, and how with the right resources, support from both public and private sector, we can actually tap into this market. Diani Beach, to be specific, was among the very first destinations to venture into the regional markets. And it is true, when we started, there was a lot of skepticism in terms of even spending power within the regional markets. And I must applaud the East African Tourism Platform, because they really challenged us as a destination to try and venture into this regional market. And they took us to Uganda. In fact, our first engagement in the regional markets as a destination was Uganda. We got together a couple of hotels that are located in Diani Beach, together with a few tour operators, and we exhibited at the Pearl of Africa Tourism Expo in Uganda. And truth be told, the market there had no idea Diani Beach existed. They all knew about Mombasa, which was the most popular destination. And from that first engagement, we identified strategic partners who would support in selling our destinations in that respective market. It also helped that Uganda, as a landlocked country, was looking for a closer beach destination for both their domestic market and the people traveling in from the international market. And I must say that particular engagement has borne so many fruits years after. Pauline Duva mentioned the Uganda Kenya Coast Tourism Initiative, and Diani Beach happened to be one of the, and has constantly been a key supporter for this. It is actually our story that prompted the Uganda consulate in Mombasa to actually look at tourism as part of their economic diplomacy, and as a really low-hanging fruit in terms of fulfilling their mandate in the Kenya coast. It has been quite a beautiful journey. We have seen numbers grow. And initially, when we started, Kenya was the biggest beneficiary. The Kenya coast was the biggest beneficiary. We used to get a lot of Ugandans coming down to Diani and to Mombasa, primarily for holidays. But then we actually unlocked other market segments under MICE, that is weddings, events, anniversaries, and even conferences and incentive groups from corporate Uganda. Of course, when the consulate came in, and this is where now the element of public-private partnerships come into play, they scaled this further. So aside from getting people or getting the Ugandan domestic market to visit us in the Kenya coast, they also prompted the travel trade in the Kenya coast and asked them, do you know what Uganda is? If you were to sell Uganda as a tour operator, do you understand our products? And 5 years now, the consulate together with Uganda Tourism Board has been able to do some amazing farm trips to the travel trade that is based, or rather domiciled, in the Kenya coast, because that is their jurisdiction, on some of the beautiful experiences they have in Uganda, from the gorilla trekking to ginger to Murchison Falls, to the Kampala nightlife, the culture in Uganda. And now we are seeing a situation where we have the Uganda domestic market coming into the Kenya coast, but we also have the tour operators in the Kenya coast designing itineraries that would send people to Uganda. And this is just not for the domestic market in Kenya, but even for the international market. And we know from where we sit in terms of market scope and source markets and international travel, Kenya is slightly ahead, slightly on, with very many variables in that particular comment. And we are getting to see a situation where we are creating joint itineraries between the Mara, Amboseli, Uganda, and the Kenya coast. And that for me is such a milestone, and it shows that where there's initiative, support, and commitment, this is very doable. For those who are here, and I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but currently the Kenya coast has really been pushing the regional tourism agenda. As we speak, we have 3 flights from our regional markets that fly direct to Mombasa. We have Uganda Airlines 3 times a week. We have Rwanda Air that has a stopover in Zanzibar. And we have Ethiopian Airlines that flies 14 times a week. They have 2 flights a day, every day of the week. So that shows you that even in terms of accessibility, we have made a couple of milestones. It is true that air travel within Africa is quite expensive, and that makes it to a certain level restrictive. So yes, in webinars like this are very useful in terms of supporting conversations like this that inform policy, so that we can be able to unlock some of these regional markets. Thank you.
Thanks, Joanne, and well done with great work you're doing with Diani Beach. And also thanks to EATP for having organized that peer-to-peer learning. I think there's good opportunity in learning from each other and synergizing our activities. So it's you're now a missionary to other coastal investments. Happy to support you while you're also trying to build the capacity of other establishments like Diani. So well done. We'll keep engaged with you to ensure that there's consistent and sustainable support, whatever you guys are doing. I think Amin would want to voice over his, I had responded to it, but Amin, would you want to voice over what you wanted to, your experience as well? Well, thank you. I think we have come to a close. Simon, are you still on the call, or Maria, would you want to say something on behalf of the EAC? Because most of the issues have been flagged to the Secretariat but if there's no problem, yes, Simon?
Jeff, still on the call, fortunately. I can respond to a few questions, or I make a few comments, but mostly what we have received are very good insights into the initiatives that are taking place at the regional level, how we can improve, how we can collaborate. So it's mainly insights in that direction. But if you will, I can respond to a few issues there, or just add. Now, number one, it's the issue of visa regime in the region, and that is to reiterate what I had indicated. The ministers for tourism, or Sectoral Council on Tourism Wildlife Management, has been discussing this issue over the years, and the last directive was for us to undertake to review the study that was undertaken in 2013 to inform the way forward in terms of full rollout of single tourist visa in the region. We know there are challenges related to security concerns, related to revenue sharing mechanisms, related to also like how do we issue the visas. So that's going to be addressed. And as I indicated, we have Trademark Africa, they're supporting their study. And actually, the consultant is starting the work today. We have the inception meeting with him this afternoon. So he's going to be reaching out to the stakeholders here and across the region so that we can get a very informative study. Also, when we talk about the visa, that supports the international tourism. But let me mention that East Africa has also made a lot of effort in terms of free movement of persons across the region, whereby we use one passport, that is East African passport. If you look at the features of Ugandan, Kenyan passport, they are the same. And one important factor is like the East Africans don't charge visas, to each other, apart from the new member states who are getting on board. That is Federal Republic of Somalia. Also, we have I think DRC, they have gone bilateral with a number of countries, and also RSS, because the idea is to also encourage movement across the region, within that's intra-regional tourism. And to me, that will be the bedrock of travel within the region. Charity begins at home. So if you're able to ensure that East Africans travel within their region, that's going to create confidence even when it comes to international market. So for us, that's a plus. Also, the issue of immigration systems. A lot of efforts have gone into place in terms of harmonizing. For instance, when you go to one-stop border post, there are many, I think there are about 12 now. Others are being launched, whereby the system has been simplified. I used to be a user of the border post when they were separate, and they could take close to 1 hour to clear. But nowadays, within 15 minutes, you find it like that has been sorted out. So that's also an improvement. The other thing that I can talk about is about connectivity. In terms of connectivity, EAC actually is the one that EAC Secretariat coordinates a development of feasibility studies when it comes to, for instance, road rail connectivity. And I give examples of northern corridors, central corridors when it comes to road and rail transport. And what is happening within the region, like SGR, it's one system actually. It's not a like separate system for Kenya, Uganda, but it's supposed to be one system that connects all the partner states so that we can facilitate movement of goods, movement of people. So when we see like Uganda trying to do their bit, Kenya also trying to extend to the border so that they connect with Uganda, it's one system. So we believe in the near future, or when that project is finalized, a lot of movement will happen across the country. In that, let me appreciate the submission by Joanne. It was quite inspirational. We have engaged with her and also other team members from Diani, what they have done. And that gives us a very practical experience in terms of collaboration. So like increase in travel to Diani, I think that has been phenomenal. And if that can happen across the region, I think that would be really positive in the tourism, for the tourism sector. Let me talk about the issue of air. Of course, we see a lot of protectionism still taking place, where we have a high landing fees and taxes being charged. And this is where the private sector can come in terms of advocacy, in terms of working with the regional bodies, EABC, EAC, in terms of pushing the policymakers towards fast-tracking liberalization in air transport. I think Eduardo talked about Yamasukro. I think that has not been really supported by our region, but we need to really move faster towards that direction. But also, I have seen a lot of low-cost carriers happening. For instance, someone talked about connection between Serengeti. I have seen is it Fastlink going to many destinations. If we can leverage those simple reports, I think that can work. Tourism boards working together. EAC, we requested for appointment of what we call it EAC Tourism Brand Champions. And the idea is to work closely with the tourism boards to promote the EAC tourism brand. That is in place. But also, I have seen the need to reactivate the Forum of Head of Tourism Boards. It used to be there like 20 years ago. I think we need to reactivate that so that they can collaborate at a higher level. Also, in terms of joint promotion, my question is the space that is to be occupied by private sector is still huge. We need to work with EABC. We need to work with the East African Tourism Platform, because when you were working on the tourism marketing strategy, we had visualized an idea that we'll be working very closely with EATP. So that when we have a pavilion at any of the expos, it's not EAC Secretariat, it's EAC, EATP, and probably EABC bringing participants together. So I think EATP, we need to work very closely with you to strengthen you so that we can move forward. Another thing that comes to our mind, how do we bring in the big entrepreneurs or businesses that benefit from tourism? I was looking at the airlines. Can they support the joint tourism promotion, the banks, the suppliers, the ones who supply things like soft drinks to the hoteliers? If you're able to demonstrate how they are benefiting from tourism, and we are doing kind of requesting for sponsorship, they should be able to participate with us. And I see EABC playing a major role in bringing them on board. EATP, again, we had actually foreseen us working together to come up with an EAC photo that was raised. But again, EATP became, I don't know what happened, because we developed the e-tourism catalog together, tourism e-catalog together. And the idea was actually to promote the offerings from all the partner states from across the region. I think we need to re-engage so that we can take that to the next level where you have e-tourism portal, probably commercialized. Someone talked about policy will always be policies, and we see the need to focus on the low-hanging fruits. What can work within the short term and that we're able to demonstrate, like what is happening in Diani. It's a case in point that we can demonstrate to our seniors, to the policymakers, this is happening. If we are to do it in a bigger scale, it's going to have a big impact. Let me address the fine one as AFCON. As a question came, I have refreshed my memory because we worked on the concept note, and the thing that we were planning to have on board is a stakeholder engagement platform where we bring private sector, public sector together, also undertake a digital media campaign around AFCON, also do match week cultural festivals, and someone talked about add-on tourism circuits. I think that was Frank, and also trade activation and road shows. But that requires a bit of support, and we have to approach the private sector so that we can work in terms of supporting EAC participation at AFCON or promoting AFCON as a tourism product. And in that case, we're developing a sponsorship package, and we'll be reaching out to our partners in the private sector so that we can work together. I think I can comment on the few, but again, in conclusion, the spirit is the regional tourism promotion. We are not trying to do away with the individual efforts or promotion at the national level. Otherwise, it's like having a regional action that reinforces what is happening across the region in the partner state, whereby we have strong national brands that feed into a strong regional brand. I submit.
Thank you, Simon, for doing a roundup of comments and questions that have been asked. Much appreciation, really. A round of applause to you and your team, the EAC Secretariat, for good work that you're doing. One thing that has come in prominently is the Diani case. Joanne, I think maybe Frank, we need to organize a case study tour from other regions to Diani for a sightseeing and experiential learning. That'd be great, because it sounds like a success story that would inspire others. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I think we have come to a conclusion of our webinar today. But as we conclude today's webinar, of course, several important messages have emerged clearly from our discussion, majorly such as the EAC tourism sector, majorly holds enormous untapped potential for economic growth, employment, and regional integration. The regional collaboration and policy harmonization are essential for unlocking tourism competitiveness. These I'm reading like the key takeaways, and so addressing mobility barriers, infrastructure gaps, investment constraints remains crucial. Sustainability, digital transformation, and inclusivity must remain central for future tourism strategies. Stronger partnership between government, regional institutions, and the private sector will be essential for longer-term sector resilience and growth. So on behalf of EABC and our CED who has just stepped down because there's another engagement, and our partners, I extend sincere appreciation to our distinguished panelists, participants across the region, and the organizing teams at the EABC team in Arusha for contributing to this important regional conversation. We look forward to continued collaboration in advancing a more integrated, sustainable, and globally competitive tourism sector within our EAC region, and we continue to engage with you. Takeaways that we are going to develop a policy brief from these recommendations and your submissions, which we'll share with the EAC Secretariat through Simon, and we'll continue to push to ensure that these recommendations are followed and a few bottlenecks are unlocked. Thank you very much, my colleagues and the team, for supporting, and I look forward to engaging with you in further engagements and gatherings like these. Thank you very much. Have a great day, and God bless you.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Asanteni sana. Karibu sana.
Asante.
Yeah. Please, my team will share with you the presentation that has been made if you have provided your email address. Thank you.
Asante Jeff. Bye.
Sounds good. Bye.